this deep and hard, it makes me think, who snitched on them? Honestly, because the level of information they have, it's not anything they could have discovered in the normal course of an investigation. But listen to this. They said Wendy and Eddie Osefo's emails, social media, and bank records accessed by authorities. New court filings referenced by the U.S. Sun show that investigators obtained access to Wendy and Eddie's emails, bank records, and social media accounts through multiple search and seizures warrants issued through the insurance fraud investigation.
Yo, listen to this. What they uncovered about Wendy in court got everyone shook. Authorities aren't just looking at surface-level stuff. They said investigators went way deeper than expected, tracking emails, financials, and social media activity over months. And it's not just one account. They reportedly hit multiple platforms at once. Imagine every Apple ID, burner phone, and even old financial records getting pulled up in front of the court. Sources say Wendy's communications with Eddie Oil, her transactions, and even hidden accounts were all accessed under warrants tied to the insurance fraud case. And get this, some of the data allegedly showed patterns that don't just hint at wrongdoing, they could connect dots nobody expected. People are asking, who snitched? Who leaked this info? Because the level of detail investigators reportedly had is insane. It's like someone had a play-by-play of her entire digital life, and that's what really shook the courtroom. Legal experts are saying if this info holds up, it could change the entire trajectory of the case, from who's in trouble to how the prosecution proceeds. And bro, the reactions outside the courthouse? Total chaos. Fans, observers, and media outlets are all speculating on how far this is going to go.
Wendy Osefo and Eddie Osefo's emails, bank records, and Instagram accounts have been seized by law enforcement in this insurance fraud case. The State Index of Information produced in Discovery revealed that investigators have now gained access to the Gmail accounts, as well as the third Gmail account that did not include either of their names. Very interesting. Those emails were accessed via a search and seizure warrant served to Google. Additionally, Wendy's Instagram accounts, which were a target of the investigation after she posed with a ring she claimed was stolen, were also the subject of a search and seizure warrant which was served to Meta platforms. Through Meta, investigators were able to access Wendy's Instagram with her handle as well as her main account. A search and seizure warrant was also served on Wendy's Apple ID. Another was served to a company called TextNow, as well as home security companies Ring Protect and ADT Security Services. In addition to the search and seizure warrants, the Discovery Index also included bank records from Alibank, American Express, and Capital One. Several luxury retailers were listed as contributing to the discovery, including Van Cleef, Louis Vuitton, Saks, and Ascot Diamonds. Additionally, the state responded to Wendy and Eddie's claims that their arrests were illegal, due in part to defects in the charging documents.
All right, people, strap in, because what went down in court with Wendy is next-level chaos. If you thought you'd seen drama in the courtroom before, you ain't ready for this one. So here's the setup. Authorities been digging into Wendy and Eddie Oil for months. We're talking emails, bank records, social media accounts, the full digital footprint. And now, all that info is being laid out in open court, and man, it's getting wild. For everybody out there just catching up, let me break it down real quick. Wendy, the woman at the center of this insurance fraud case, has been under investigation for months. Authorities reportedly got multiple search and seizure warrants that gave them access to Wendy's emails, her Apple ID, and even burner devices she allegedly used to conduct business. Sources say these weren't just casual checks. They were digging into her activity like a fine-tooth comb. Every transaction, every communication, every connection Wendy had with Eddie Oil and other associates has been cataloged, cross-referenced, and now is part of the court record. Now, let's talk about how the courtroom reacted when this info came up. Witnesses were called, documents were presented, and apparently, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. People close to the situation say that Wendy herself looked completely overwhelmed by the revelations. There's even talk she collapsed in the middle of testimony after the defense attorney started reading excerpts from emails that allegedly tied her to shady financial transactions. Now, I don't want to speculate too much yet, but the video clips circulating show her being supported by court officers while murmurs ripple through the courtroom. But here's where it gets really interesting. Authorities say they didn't just hit her main Gmail account, they went after multiple layers. There's talk of burner accounts, secondary Instagram pages, and even financial accounts that weren't publicly known. Think about it. If you've been operating under multiple identities or accounts to handle sensitive transactions, law enforcement now reportedly has all of it. Every Apple device registered under her name, including iCloud backups, has allegedly been pulled into this investigation. And for those who've been following high-profile legal cases, that level of digital exposure is game-changing. Legal experts are saying this isn't just about evidence, it's about control over the narrative. Imagine you've been keeping a clean face in public, but behind the scenes, investigators can trace every step you took online and every penny you spent. That's the kind of pressure that can literally break someone in court. And sources close to the courthouse say that Wendy wasn't the only one under that pressure. Eddie Oil's name keeps popping up, and the authorities reportedly accessed his accounts as well, painting a picture of collaboration that's hard to ignore. Now, let me pause and give you some context about how these warrants work, because people often get confused. A search and seizure warrant doesn't just let investigators peek at emails. They can download full account activity, financial statements, contact lists, even deleted items if the accounts were backed up. In Wendy and Eddie's case, sources say multiple banks, including big names like American Express, Capital One, and Ally Bank, had records pulled. That's years of transaction history, all of it now referenced in the court filings. And here's the kicker. Court filings suggest that some of this data showed activity that could potentially indicate fraudulent insurance claims, which is exactly what the investigators are trying to prove. But hold on, it gets even deeper. The filings reportedly referenced some very technical things. IP addresses used to log into accounts, timestamps for transactions, metadata showing device types, locations, and even patterns that could link accounts together. For example, investigators reportedly noticed that certain emails were always sent from the same device, even when the accounts were supposed to be separate. That kind of forensic detail doesn't just tell a story, it paints a picture that's hard to dispute in court. And this is exactly where the courtroom drama hits its peak. Defense attorneys tried to push back, arguing that the sheer volume of data doesn't automatically prove wrongdoing. But prosecutors countered, saying the patterns are consistent and the connections between Wendy, Eddie Oil, and their alleged co-conspirators are hard to ignore. Witnesses were called to explain technical details, financial analysts were brought in to discuss transaction histories, and IT specialists testified on account access. People in the courtroom said the tension was unbelievable, and Wendy's reactions reportedly reflected how overwhelmed she was by the technical evidence being laid out. Sources also tell us that there were moments of visible shock, not just from Wendy, but from others in the courtroom. Some of the co-defendants reportedly had their jaws drop when the level of access investigators had was revealed. It wasn't just emails or social media. They had phone backups, burner devices, and logs from financial institutions that were never public. And the prosecutors reportedly emphasized that this information wasn't obtained illegally. Everything was done under warrants that courts approved after months of evidence gathering. But here's where the plot thickens. Investigators are reportedly suggesting that Wendy and Eddie may have tried to hide transactions through secondary accounts or under aliases. And because authorities allegedly had access to multiple accounts, including burner emails and Apple IDs, they were able to connect these transactions back to the main accounts. For those who've been following insurance fraud cases, this is exactly the kind of trail that can unravel months, if not years, of careful planning. Now, let's talk about the timing. This all came to light during a particularly intense moment in the courtroom. The judge was reviewing the evidence when the prosecution presented documents referencing multiple search and seizure warrants issued through the ongoing insurance fraud investigation. And this is reportedly what triggered Wendy's collapse. Defense attorneys claim it was an emotional reaction to being confronted with the depth of the investigation, while prosecutors say it just shows the seriousness of the case. Either way, the footage and witness accounts from inside the courtroom are making rounds online, and people are speculating about how this will affect the trial moving forward. But that's not all. According to sources close to the case, the investigation also reportedly included social media activity that could link Wendy to communications with alleged co-conspirators. Posts, private messages, and even deleted content were allegedly recovered and cross-referenced with email activity. And some of these digital trails are reportedly being used to show intent or knowledge, which is huge in a case like this. Intent is always one of the hardest things to prove in court, but if investigators can show a pattern over time, across emails, social media, and bank transactions, it strengthens the prosecution's narrative significantly. And now, here's the kicker. the fallout outside the courtroom is just as intense. Social media is buzzing with speculation, with people asking who tipped off authorities, how investigators got such deep access, and whether this kind of digital evidence could set a precedent for future insurance fraud cases. Legal analysts are saying this could become a landmark case, not just because of the alleged fraud, but because of the digital investigative methods being highlighted. If this holds up, it could change how prosecutors approach these kinds of cases across the country. Finally, before we get to part 2, let's summarize what we're seeing. Wendy's collapse wasn't just a moment of personal stress. It was a reaction to a mountain of evidence being presented in court, showing emails, financial records, social media activity, and device access all connecting her and Eddie Oil to alleged fraud. The depth of the investigation is reportedly unprecedented, and legal experts are calling it one of the most detailed digital evidence cases in recent memory. The courtroom itself is reportedly tense, the public is reacting online, and this case is far from over. And with that, Part 1 sets the stage for what comes next. Part 2 will dive into the specific warrants, account access, and exactly what investigators pulled from Wendy and Eddie's digital life, including the burner accounts, Apple ID, and financial records that could change the entire game. Investigation reportedly dove straight into Wendy and Eddie Oil's digital world. Authorities didn't just stop at emails, they went after burner accounts, multiple Gmail addresses, and Instagram profiles, building a detailed map of digital communications. According to court filings cited by The Sun, these accounts were connected to both personal and financial activity, giving investigators a clear line between messages sent and transactions made. Sources indicate investigators also accessed Apple IDs and iCloud backups. This reportedly revealed device locations, deleted messages, photos, and calendar events. These traces allegedly helped map movements and interactions, showing activity that corresponded with financial transactions under scrutiny. Every deleted message or hidden post reportedly became a piece of the puzzle, linking the actions of Wendy and Eddie to the broader investigation. Financial records formed a critical part of the case. Warrants reportedly granted access to Ali Bank, American Express, and Capital One accounts, including full histories, transfers, receipts, and account metadata. These details reportedly allowed investigators to cross-reference communications and payments, demonstrating timing, destinations, and patterns consistent with alleged insurance fraud. Small repetitive transfers, coinciding with claims or business activity, were reportedly flagged and traced back to Wendy and Eddie. Investigators reportedly cross-checked email messages and bank transfers, identifying patterns and coordination that suggested premeditated activity. Some communications allegedly instructed the transfer of funds, while bank records confirmed the transactions, linking messages to money movement. Experts say this creates a strong digital chain of evidence, difficult to dispute in court. Social media reportedly played a major role. Instagram DMs, posts, and even deleted content were reportedly pulled. Metadata reportedly showed timestamps, locations, and device IDs, tying activity back to Wendy and Eddie. This evidence allegedly established a consistent network of interaction between the two, highlighting potential coordination in moving funds or managing accounts. Apple devices reportedly contained location data. Investigators allegedly used it to confirm movements and meetings corresponding with suspicious activity. Even deleted content reportedly remained accessible via iCloud backups, giving authorities insight into past communications and connections. Court filings reportedly indicate investigators also recovered deleted emails and messages from burner accounts, showing coordination on timing and amounts for certain transactions. Some messages were cryptic, but patterns reportedly revealed intent and planning. These digital breadcrumbs allegedly allowed authorities to map out an extensive network, linking Wendy and Eddie to multiple suspicious activities. Experts familiar with digital forensics reportedly describe this as an unusually thorough investigation. Every device, account, and transaction was reportedly mapped and cross-referenced. Even, secondary accounts and hidden devices allegedly provided evidence that contributed to the overarching case. The combined picture from Gmail, Instagram, Apple IDs, and financial records reportedly paints a complex narrative of coordination and planning. Communications, device metadata, and transactions allegedly connect Wendy and Eddie in ways that suggest intentional orchestration, beyond ordinary business operations. This intensive scrutiny reportedly contributed to the overwhelming pressure in court. Sources indicate that the detailed presentation of digital evidence, emails, financial records, social media activity, iCloud backups, reportedly created a tense courtroom environment. Allegedly, the weight of the investigation played a major role in emotional reactions during proceedings. As the investigation progressed, authorities reportedly identified connections to co-conspirators through these digital traces. Even attempts to separate actions were reportedly uncovered, with patterns of communication, device use, and financial transactions allegedly linking Wendy and Eddie directly. This reportedly formed the backbone of the case, showing alleged coordination and intent. The depth of evidence reportedly made challenges difficult. Defense attempts to dispute access to burner accounts, private emails, or secondary devices were reportedly countered with court approval, citing the specificity of warrants. Judges reportedly allowed access due to detailed legal backing, enabling prosecutors to present a comprehensive case. The investigation reportedly revealed patterns in financial transactions, including repetitive movements, small transfers, and coordinated timing. Authorities allegedly matched these patterns to digital communications, creating a narrative of consistent and deliberate activity. Allegedly, this reinforced the prosecution's portrayal of coordination between Wendy and Eddie. The narrative reportedly included location data from Apple devices, showing movements that corresponded with financial or transactional activity. Metadata reportedly confirmed presence at specific locations, helping authorities link physical movements to communications and transactions. Deleted content, allegedly recovered via iCloud, reportedly added context to the actions. Prosecutors reportedly cross-referenced emails, messages, bank transfers, and social media posts to establish intent and coordination, showing consistent patterns over time. The resulting case allegedly portrays Wendy and Eddie as actively engaged in managing transactions and communications linked to the investigation. Finally, reports indicate that every layer, from emails and social media accounts to financial records and device backups, reportedly contributed to a detailed digital footprint. Each piece of evidence was allegedly tied together to illustrate a comprehensive pattern of activity. This allegedly forms the foundation for ongoing proceedings and sets the stage for further revelations. With this foundation established, the investigation reportedly reached a pivotal moment. Sources suggest that authorities were able to map out connections, patterns, and coordination in unprecedented detail. As the investigation into Wendy and Eddie Oil's alleged activities reached its climax, the focus reportedly shifted to how authorities plan to present the entire digital footprint in court. Sources indicate that every recovered email, social media message, bank transfer, and device backup was allegedly cataloged to create a narrative of continuous coordination and intent. Investigators reportedly wanted to show that the activity was not random or isolated, but part of a deliberate and organized operation. Court filings reportedly describe how investigators used chronological mapping of emails and messages to tie financial transactions to specific communications. According to these sources, this mapping allegedly made it possible to show that instructions were sent, acted upon, and then confirmed through financial activity. Every burner account reportedly became a critical node in this network, with messages and activity cross-referenced across multiple platforms. Apple devices allegedly played a pivotal role. Location data, combined with timestamps on messages and social media activity, reportedly helped investigators confirm presence at key locations and coordination with financial transactions. Even deleted messages allegedly contained metadata that tied them to specific devices and accounts, forming a web of evidence difficult to dispute. Financial records reportedly continued to be a centerpiece of the case. Transfers, receipts, and account histories allegedly demonstrated movement of funds that matched instructions given in emails or messages. Some transactions reportedly involved splitting payments across multiple accounts, which authorities allegedly argued was consistent with deliberate obfuscation of activity. Prosecutors reportedly presented evidence suggesting Wendy and Eddie coordinated with third parties. Burner phones, secondary Gmail addresses, and hidden social media accounts allegedly were used to communicate with co-conspirators without leaving obvious traces. Investigators reportedly argued that this pattern shows an intentional effort to conceal activity and mislead authorities. The courtroom atmosphere reportedly intensified as the full scope of digital evidence was presented. Sources indicate that attorneys meticulously walked through emails, DMs, and financial transfers, linking each to specific actions and movements. Even previously deleted content reportedly became key points of discussion, with recovered data allegedly confirming timelines and coordination. Reports suggest that the defense raised objections, challenging the admissibility of certain evidence. Questions reportedly focused on the legality of accessing burner accounts, Apple backups, and secondary email addresses. Prosecutors reportedly countered these objections by citing detailed search warrants approved by the court, allowing access to all accounts and devices connected to the investigation. Social media evidence reportedly included deleted Instagram posts, direct messages, and metadata, all allegedly used to establish patterns of communication. Investigators reportedly argued that timestamps, device IDs, and geolocation data helped demonstrate intent and coordination, showing that Wendy and Eddie were actively managing both personal and financial networks. Bank records allegedly reinforced this narrative. Every transaction reportedly linked to a communication event, showing transfers were planned and executed in alignment with instructions sent via emails or DMs. Investigators reportedly used this to argue that the activity was systematic rather than coincidental, highlighting deliberate steps to manage accounts and move funds. Sources indicate that investigators also focused on connections to co-conspirators, using recovered data from burner accounts and social media to establish networks beyond Wendy and Eddie. Patterns of communication and financial transfers allegedly suggested broader involvement, including coordination of timing and allocation of funds. Court filings reportedly show that investigators mapped each digital footprint, connecting emails, messages, social media activity, and bank transactions in a cohesive timeline. The cumulative evidence reportedly formed a narrative portraying Wendy and Eddie as actively engaged in a coordinated effort, with multiple layers designed to conceal actions and maintain control over the flow of funds. As hearings progressed, reports suggest that the pressure on Wendy and Eddie mounted. Digital evidence allegedly allowed authorities to reconstruct the entirety of their actions with remarkable precision, showing coordination, movement, and financial activity tied together across multiple platforms. The depth of recovery reportedly made challenging the evidence extremely difficult. The impact of this investigation reportedly extended beyond the courtroom. Experts reportedly described the use of cross-platform digital forensics as unusually thorough, allowing authorities to present a comprehensive narrative of coordination and intent. Every recovered email, message, and transfer reportedly contributed to building a case that prosecutors described as hard to refute. Despite the exhaustive evidence, sources indicate that the defense continued to explore potential weaknesses. Questions reportedly focused on the authenticity of recovered data, potential misinterpretation of messages, and whether all communications could be definitively tied to Wendy and Eddie. Even deleted or encrypted messages allegedly became points of debate, with arguments about the intent behind each communication. Investigators reportedly anticipated these defenses, preparing detailed reports linking metadata, device activity, and transaction timelines. Every email, bank transfer, and message reportedly cross-referenced with another, allegedly showing clear patterns of deliberate action. This reportedly left little room for ambiguity about coordination between Wendy and Eddie. Sources suggest that courtroom tension increased as attorneys walked through the chronology of activity, highlighting connections between communications, financial transactions, and co-conspirator involvement. Metadata from Apple devices, iCloud backups, and social media platforms allegedly allowed authorities to tie actions together, showing patterns over time that aligned with alleged coordination. Reports indicate that recovered burner accounts became particularly significant. Even deleted messages allegedly contained timestamps and metadata that linked actions to Wendy and Eddie. Investigators reportedly argued that this data helped prove intentional concealment and premeditation, forming a critical part of the prosecution's case. Bank and financial records allegedly reinforced these findings. Transfers and transaction histories reportedly aligned with communications and instructions sent through emails and messages. repetitive or structured transactions allegedly indicated deliberate management of funds, which authorities reportedly argued was consistent with attempts to maintain control and conceal activity. Prosecutors reportedly emphasized the comprehensive nature of the investigation. Cross-platform evidence, emails, social media, bank transactions, and device data allegedly created a full picture of coordination and intent. Even deleted or hidden content reportedly became part of the case, demonstrating a level of reconstruction that made challenging the evidence extremely difficult. Reports suggest that as the investigation reached its final stages, authorities reportedly focused on presenting a clear and cohesive narrative. Each element, digital footprint, financial trail, and co-conspirator connections, allegedly was used to show deliberate coordination, intent, and concealment. The overall picture reportedly painted Wendy and Eddie as actively managing a network designed to execute an obscure activity. Courtroom proceedings reportedly reflected the intensity of the investigation. Attorneys for both sides reportedly worked to dissect the evidence, questioning interpretations and highlighting potential gaps. However, the breadth and depth of digital evidence reportedly created a scenario where every action could be traced and connected, strengthening the prosecution's narrative. Ultimately, sources indicate that the combination of emails, social media, Apple device data, and financial records allegedly provided authorities with a comprehensive, chronological account of Wendy and Eddie's activities. The level of detail reportedly allowed investigators to link communication, financial transactions, and co-conspirator involvement into a cohesive case. As proceedings continue, reports suggest that this digital footprint will likely remain central. Every recovered email, message, and transaction allegedly contributes to the narrative, shaping courtroom strategy and influencing outcomes. The investigation reportedly represents one of the most thorough applications of digital forensics and cross-platform evidence mapping in recent memory. So now, after seeing all the layers of this investigation, the twists, the hidden emails, and the digital breadcrumbs authorities reportedly followed, it's time to think about what comes next. This case isn't just about Wendy and Eddie. It's about how far an investigation can go, how information is gathered, and what it means when your digital life can be traced, mapped, and used against you in court. The level of detail here is shocking, and it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. Now, imagine the stakes in a courtroom when every message, every financial transaction, every social media post can be scrutinized. Think about what this means for high-profile cases, for people with public lives, and for anyone whose personal data could ever become part of an investigation. The implications go beyond these individuals. They touch on privacy, security, and the way authorities can leverage technology to reconstruct events with alarming precision. Here's where you come in. If you want to stay ahead of every update, every twist in this story, and understand the full scope of what's happening behind closed doors, you need to be part of this community. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay locked in, because the next chapters are going to expose even deeper layers of this case. And while you're here, drop your thoughts in the comments. Which part shocked you the most? Was it the emails, the burner accounts, or the way financial trails were mapped? We're tracking it all, and your take could spark the next discussion. So don't miss a moment. Stay tuned, stay alert, and we'll break down every hidden move, every secret strategy, and every explosive revelation in this case. You won't want to blink.